Wait till you see what happens at the end of this day. It brought unexpected miracles. Some days just break you. You know the kind I'm talking about, where every corner you turn, another wall goes up, where every single ounce of effort you give feels like it just vanishes, leaving you with nothing. By the end of this day, I was just done. I had no fight left in me. I felt hollowed out, convinced I was failing at everything, and completely, utterly alone. I went to church that night, and I wasn't looking for a miracle or even for answers. I just needed a quiet place to fall apart where nobody would see me. But what I found in that final prayer, that one small moment, well, it changed everything. Section 1. The weight of the day started with that familiar, sinking feeling in my stomach. I woke up way before my alarm, my mind already racing, cataloging every single anxiety before my feet even hit the floor. The first thing I saw when I opened my laptop was an email from my boss. It wasn't mean, not really, but it was written in that special kind of corporate speak that somehow praises you and tells you you're incompetent in the same breath. It was a list of minor adjustments for a project I'd poured weeks of my life into. Reading between the lines, the message was crystal clear. This isn't good enough. It was a small thing, I know, but it felt like the first crack in a dam that was already about to burst. From there, it was like a domino effect. I had a tense, clipped conversation with my roommate about bills. We weren't fighting, but the air was thick with stress, just another weight added to the pile. I spent the morning trying to make those changes to my project, but my brain felt like it was wading through cement. Every idea felt stupid. Every sentence I wrote sounded wrong. The cursor just blinked and blinked at me, a tiny, rhythmic pulse reminding me of how stuck I was. Lunch was a handful of something I don't even remember, eaten while staring at a wall. Then I made the mistake of scrolling through social media, which is a terrible habit on days like these. All I saw were perfect lives, engagements, promotions, beautiful vacations, happy families. And with every post, that little voice in my head got louder. See? Everyone else has it all figured out. What's wrong with you? Why are you so far behind? The afternoon got worse. An unexpected car repair bill landed in my inbox, a number that just made my chest tighten. I tried calling a friend, just to hear a friendly voice, but it went straight to voicemail. I felt so profoundly isolated, like I was shouting into a canyon and not even an echo came back. This wasn't some big, dramatic tragedy. It was the slow, quiet erosion of my spirit, one tiny failure and disappointment at a time. By evening, I wasn't just tired, I was defeated. It's an exhaustion that goes all the way to your bones and has nothing to do with sleep. It's the weight of trying so damn hard, day in and day out, and feeling like you're not just standing still, but actually moving backward. I looked around my quiet apartment, and the silence was just deafening. I felt invisible. I remember thinking, God, where are you in any of this? Are you even there? Because in that moment, he felt a million miles away. I was just empty. Section 2. A desperate search for stillness. My first instinct was to just crawl into bed, pull the covers over my head, and wait for the day to be over. The energy it would take to put on a smile and pretend I was okay, I just didn't have it. But then, a thought popped into my head. There was a small, simple weeknight service at a church a few miles from my apartment. I hadn't been in a long time. Honestly, my faith felt as worn out as I did. But the idea wasn't about religion. I wasn't trying to find some big solution or hear a life-changing sermon. The appeal was much, much simpler. It was a place where I could just be. A place where I could sit in the quiet, surrounded by people, but with no pressure to talk or pretend. It was a place where I could be broken, in God's presence, without having to say a single word. It was a total act of surrender. I had tried everything I could think of to fix my day, to fix my mood, to fix myself, and I had failed at all of it. So I got in my car. I didn't turn on the radio. I just drove in the silence, feeling the full, crushing weight of my own defeat. I wasn't going to church expecting a miracle. I was going because it was the only place I could think of where it was okay to have nothing left. Section 3. The final prayer. Walking into the church felt strange. It was exactly as I'd remembered. Plain wooden pews, simple stained glass windows, just a handful of people scattered around. There was no big show, no loud music. It was just quiet. I found a spot in the very back and sank into the pew, feeling a tiny bit of relief just from being anonymous in the dim light. The service started, but I barely heard it. The pastor was speaking, but his words just washed over me. My own thoughts were way too loud, replaying the day's failures on a loop. The email, the bill, the loneliness. I wasn't praying. I wasn't singing. I was just sitting there, letting the exhaustion and sadness completely take over. I felt a million miles from God, like a spectator in a room full of people who all had a connection that I'd lost. Then, the service started winding down, and the pastor said it was time for one last prayer. He invited everyone to bring whatever was on their hearts to God, and in that moment, something shifted for me. I didn't have any eloquent words. I didn't have any big requests. All I had was the raw, unfiltered truth. I closed my eyes, but I didn't bow my head. I just looked up into the shadows of the ceiling, and I let go. My prayer wasn't made of words. It was a silent scream from my soul. God, I'm done. I can't do this. I can't carry this anymore. I have nothing left. I don't even know what to ask for. I just surrender. Please, help me. And then, it happened. It wasn't a flash of light or a booming voice from heaven. It was quieter. It was a stillness that settled over me, a peace so deep it felt like a physical weight was being lifted right off my chest. The frantic, anxious noise in my head just stopped. In its place was a feeling of being seen, a feeling of being held. It was a warmth that started in my chest and spread through my whole body, and into that perfect, peaceful silence, a single, clear thought settled into my mind. It wasn't my thought. It was too kind, too gentle for that. It was the simple, unshakable knowledge of a truth I had forgotten. I am here. You are not alone. Tears started streaming down my face, but they weren't sad tears. They were tears of pure relief, of release. Nothing about my day had actually changed. The email was still in my inbox. The bill was still unpaid, but the despair that had been choking me for hours was gone. In that quiet moment of total surrender, when I finally stopped trying to fix everything myself, he met me right where I was. Section 4. The Walk into a New Reality. The pastor said Amen, and the service was over. People started quietly shuffling out, but I couldn't move. I just sat there in the back pew, with tears drying on my face, soaking in the lingering warmth of that peace. It was the kind of peace that makes no sense, the kind that can exist right alongside your problems. When I finally stood up and walked outside, the world felt different. The night air, which felt so cold and heavy on my way in, now felt crisp and clean. The streetlights seemed to glow a little warmer. My problems hadn't magically vanished. I knew when I got home, everything would be exactly as I left it. But I wasn't the same. The crushing burden was gone, replaced by a quiet, stubborn hope. The drive home was the total opposite of the drive there. I still didn't turn on the radio, but this time the silence wasn't empty. It was full. It was peaceful. I wasn't obsessing over the project or the bill. I was just replaying that moment, that feeling, that gentle thought. You are not alone. It was a quiet, personal miracle, one that nobody else in that room even saw. It reminded me that God doesn't always show up with thunder and lightning. Sometimes, He comes as a whisper in a quiet church on the worst day of your life, right when you least expect it. Section 5. The lasting transformation that night changed me. It's not like I never have bad days anymore. Of course, I do. Life is still full of challenges and frustrations, but there's a huge difference in how I face them now. That moment became my anchor. Whenever I start to feel that old, familiar despair creeping in, whenever that voice in my head tells me I'm alone and I'm failing, I take myself back to that pew. I close my eyes and I remember that unexplainable peace. I remember what it felt like to be seen and held. It's become a cornerstone of my faith. The real miracle wasn't that my problems disappeared. The miracle happened inside my heart. I learned that surrender isn't the same as giving up. It's finally opening the door for God to step in. It's admitting I can't so that He can. It reminded me that God cares about the little details of our lives, about our quiet heartaches, and that He's working in us in ways we can't always see. That single moment of peace has had more lasting power than any quick fix ever could. It taught me that His presence is the answer, not the absence of trouble. That's a lesson I carry with me every single day. The peace He gave me that night wasn't just for that moment. It was a seed of hope that has kept on growing, reminding me that even at the end of the hardest day, a quiet miracle might be waiting in the very last prayer. If you've ever had a moment like this, big or small, a time where you felt God show up right when you needed Him most, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Your story might be the one thing someone else needs to read today to keep going. These stories, these quiet moments of grace, remind us that we're not alone in this. And if you're in the middle of one of those days right now, if you feel like you are at your breaking point, please hear me. You are not alone. I'm praying for you that you would feel that same peace that goes beyond all understanding. Thank you so much for listening. Miracles aren't always loud. Sometimes the most powerful ones happen quietly, inside your own heart, a simple, solid assurance that He is with you. Don't lose hope. Your breakthrough might be closer than you think. Subscribe for more stories, and remember, even on the hardest days, there is always hope. God loves you as you are.